Are you ready to reclaim joy in your life? Why joy? Why now? Welcome to Joy Rules with me, Lorelei, your joy guru. While the world looks like it's at a breaking point, burnout, stress, isolation, and overwhelm dominate the headlines. Within all this, there's a longing for something deeper, something that heals beyond the mind. Joy fuels health, sparks expansive thought, aligns us spiritually, and connects us to one another. Join me as I weave astrology, intuition, and modern psychology to ignite your soul's highest alignment. Each week I sit down with luminous guests who embody joy as a spiritual path, a creative force, and a way of life. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive into the joy. Because when joy rules, transformation becomes inevitable. Hello, my playmates for the soul. Once again, I feel like a kid in a candy store. This is such a powerful time that we're in right now. The sun has just gone into Cancer at the summer solstice a few days ago. So we're all in that pool of emotion and really looking at what we're feeling, what nourishes us. But the big thing that I want to talk about is for the last year, the planet of expansion, Jupiter, has been in Cancer, the most emotional, sensitive, vulnerable, defensive, reactive, needy, clingy, moody. I'm Cancer rising, so I claim it. But all of it. And a lot of emotional stuff has come up for folks. I mean, have you noticed all this speak about emotional dysregulation or regulation? It's in the zeitgeist. It's in the field for people to be able to better understand the emotions that are coming up. So everyone's been in this. And when I bring my luminous guest on, he is a Cancer and has been in it himself. But what's happening in 4 days, because this is the 26th of June, what's happening on June 30th, early in the morning, is that Jupiter, this planet, will leave this journey, this emotional journey in Cancer where he's been for the last year, and will dance into Leo, into the sign of creative self-expression, celebrating life, the heart, the child, the inner child, all of that. So I want to just say, even though we've only got 4 more days, don't be surprised if something really emotional might come up for you that has been in the wings for a while. And right at that, because a lot of times at the end of a planetary cycle is when we get the gift, is when we get the lesson or whatever it is. So if anything comes up that helps you know yourself more deeply emotionally in the next 4 days before Jupiter goes into Leo, love it, welcome it, accept it, because it's right on time. So with that said, I want to bring on my luminous guest in the nest, David Traub, and welcome, David, to Joy Rules.
Hi, Lorelei. I'm happy to be here. I'm not entirely sure how this works. I don't know whether they see us both at once or whether they zoom in on me. I guess that's all done post-production. Is that how that
Well,
works?
that's the producer.
Okay.
That's why I have
Whew.
producers, right?
Holy
I don't
smokes.
have to think, I don't have to think about that. But I
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
having you as a guest, I mean, I love all my guests and most of
Yeah,
them are my friends, but
yeah.
you specifically, because of the experiences that I personally have had with you and with your talents and your gifts in the Breakthrough Course Room, makes this even more special for me because I mean, I've been in places with you where I've laughed my ass off, and I've been in places with you where I've sobbed in your
Yeah,
arms and you couldn't go to dinner because no,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying I'm so excited to have you here because you are having an opportunity to really bask in this energy of growth and expansion. And when we talked last year, and I said, Jupiter's going into Cancer, you'll have this opportunity to grow beyond how you define yourself.
Yeah.
So, and what's so interesting, in 4 days, when Jupiter goes into Leo, that planet is at the top of your chart. The top of the chart is what's visible in the world because you
Yeah.
have Leo there. So I'm wondering what your playground's going to look like, or if you want to just speak to this expansive energy that you've been in.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I don't know how to actually put that into terms of the planets. I do know that I am surprised by the current expansion in my life. So, there you are, res ipsa, right? I mean, I have taken on something, the cohort, the trainings that I've taken on are, they're huge for me. I mean, in some ways it's something I've done many times before, but in other ways it's a whole new thing. And I already feel myself stretching. I mean, tremendously. Like, yeah, it's having a huge impact, and it's expanding the amount of time I'm focusing on what I'm doing and what I'm thinking about. And I thought I was retiring, Lorelei. I really did think I would. There were at least a part of me was sort of, retiring, the right word. I mean, I stopped taking new clients on, and instead of doing less, I'm literally doing way more than I ever did once again. So I think that
Well,
correlates.
and once again, because I would say because it's fueled from that joy
Oh,
place,
for sure, for
right?
sure.
I
Oh, for
mean,
sure.
what I find so interesting is that um, I remember saying to you when we were talking, and I said, "Well, what if a group of us just came to Florida and you would teach something?"
Yeah.
Having no clue about the cohort, but I just got an insight. One of the great gifts of cancer, and you model it beautifully, is vulnerability, is the
Mm.
willingness to be vulnerable and undefended. And I've just discovered in myself recently that I like being vulnerable when I'm in control of it. Like, okay, I can be vulnerable now. But because now with the sun in Cancer, that means everybody gets to dance under this umbrella, whether they have Cancer energy or not. So that willingness to be sort of undefended, and I mean, you have many strengths, which I've observed since that's my job when I was in personnel. But one of those is really that ability to be so open and so undefended and so vulnerable. Did you like master that over time, or is that sort of
I,
an ongoing process?
I think that it certainly was something that developed over time. I will say that somewhere along the line it clicked for me that anywhere I was defended was something that was unhealed. And anywhere that was defended always turned around into something that I could love and actually have the quality of my life better for loving it. And so it for me, being undefended is actually safer than being defended, because if I'm defended, it means that the rug is going to get pulled out from under me instead of actually just sort of getting on the slide to begin with.
You
You
know,
know?
it's fascinating that you would say what you just said, because as you were
Yeah,
talking, I was thinking to myself that lesson from A Course in Miracles, which is what you just said. In my defenselessness, my safety lies.
absolutely.
I remember relating to that. I didn't know that I understood it, but it resonated somewhere deep inside me years ago. I thought, I don't get that, but I get that. And so the beauty of what you just shared is that would be coming up even more for folks during cancer season. It's like anything else, here's the cosmic weather now, and everybody makes their choices. So, when I was going back over and watching our connection call, one of the things that you said that really stood out to me was the difference between managing our life, getting through our life, and
Mm,
actually inhabiting it or living it.
hmm. Yeah.
And I think so much of the world is there. Will you speak to that?
Well, I mean, the thing is, that we can be really busy, and being busy means that we've filled our life. But, being up to something means that we've sort of filled our being. Having something that we're pointed at, having something that excites us, having having a purpose and a passion fills us instead of filling our time. And
Yes.
so many people are busy filling their time. And I think I mean, I don't think it's any surprise that they're filling their time because they're not really comfortable sitting quietly with themselves.
Mhm.
Um, But again, I think at the end of the day, being up to something, like really having a purpose for our life, that is where the adult in us has to take charge and
Mm.
actually create the causes and conditions for an extraordinary life instead of waiting for them to show up. So many people are waiting for joy, like a mood that's going to be delivered or like a
Yes.
present for living well, instead of actually creating the causes and conditions themselves and really just like pointing towards that.
And it's so much what we do in the course room, because in the course room, those layers of protection, of course, however much someone is willing to do that, removing those layers of protection to the love that we are, to the joy that we are. I mean, I see it. I know you've seen it many more years than I have, but I mean, weekend after weekend, it's the same process, and we all get to go through it at wherever level where we are. And I just find it so magical because, when Francesca said that, being up to something. And I said, where'd you hear that? And she said, David says that. And I said, up to something. Wow, that's
Yeah.
my criteria for a guest on my show. It's not about whether they've necessarily written a book or singing a song or, created whatever. It's being up to something. So I'm in this childlike inquiry myself of what that means, that being up to something.
Well,
And which is why I called the episode Joy's Being Up to Something, because I
nice,
extracted
nice.
that from our time together.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I've seen a lot of people come to the classes or come to coaching, and they're working on being less broken. They have this idea. They're working on being better, but you can spend your whole life becoming less broken and still never become alive.
yes. Wow, that's why people are stuck. They get stuck there.
They get stuck trying to get better. They get stuck trying to, and they think it's a mood instead of a place of responsibility where they choose something. You
You
know,
know, I always thought it was a mood. I remember until just a few years ago going to bed at night and saying, I hope I don't wake up in a bad mood. Like something was going to get me. Seriously, you just said like
sure.
something like I had no control over it. I had no choice. And the more I'm leaning into everything is a choice, the more empowered that like joy is a choice. Like Francesca has been cleaning out the kitty litter for me just because it's harder for me to bend, and she
Yeah.
forgot today when she's so beautiful. And I went, you know what? I'm going to clean that out before the show because I'm going to clean out all this stuff I'm feeling, this resentment, this pissiness, this defensiveness. That's
Yeah.
Cancer energy too, and it's a more unconscious, right? So, but
I do think that joy is I mean a requirement for, not necessarily the cause of, but a requirement for is being up to something. And sometimes the being what you're being up to, it's not about being impressive. When I say being up to something, it doesn't have to be impressive. It has to be deliberate. It has to be chosen. Um, and I'll be to be clear, like you can have joy in a moment, when I would say somebody isn't going to have a really joyful life sitting on their couch. But one other you can refute that because they could be sitting there with a cup of coffee or someone they love comes up and you say they're having joy in that moment. But really what's having joy about that is all of a sudden they've come present. And in that
yeah.
moment, they're not really sitting on the couch waiting for life to show up. They're actually present in that moment.
Mhm.
And so being present, being up to something, again, these are correlated because we choose a life where we get to be present. We get to be present to what we're up to, as
Yeah.
opposed to waiting for it.
Yeah, yeah. And I was thinking when I was reflecting on you and all the times that I've been in the course room with you and your amazing ability to create a container, to create a safe space for whatever is to unfold. And that process of getting your, because you've talked about your own ego out of the way for what needs to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's a tension there too, because we're creating a container that's safe, that's loving, that allows expression. But at the same time, there's the dual rub that says we actually have to get everybody to be up to something. They can't just sit there and be comfortable. See, so the magic happens in that rub that not only are they comfortable and safe, but they're being led to being up to something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's a tension there, right? There's a rub that occurs in that.
Yeah, and I'm seeing in myself this being dragged kicking and screaming is what it feels like. It's like I just got an insight since just last week we had this beautiful alignment of Venus and Jupiter in Cancer, which is, well, let's see where we're vulnerable. I think my pissiness is it's my resistance to creating a new family because it touches the wound of the family that I had, of the family that
Mm,
I grew up in. And so there's this, I don't want to, I'm comfortable in my, yeah, no, I'm just, in this moment, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
because what
You
you're
know,
saying is glimmering this in me. I could say triggering, but it's a glimmer.
we'll go with either one. That's good. I like that. I can support that. Well,
Yeah.
I think I mean, there's something very, the universe has got a sense of humor. I mean, if you don't recognize that, okay, you're really missing out. But, like our deep bonds we require rubbing to have deep bonds. When our relationships are comfortable and we can come and go as please, I mean, we may have a nice feeling around somebody, but there isn't any bond there. We haven't really built anything.
Mhm.
And so, we have to, this is the duality of it. I mean, on one hand, we want to be self-reliant. On the other hand, we have to recognize we need someone else for what there is between us. I can't create the thing between us without you.
Yeah.
And there's something really precious here. There's something really spectacular here in terms of, for me, I know that for human beings, connection, belonging, these are really important in terms of being able to have a fabulous life. People
And
that think that they can do it all themselves are missing out on the magical thing that happens between us.
yes. As you're speaking, I'm so seeing your chart in my head because Cancer is about belonging and connection. And we have another 4 days with the planet of wisdom in Cancer. So it's almost like we couldn't talk about it too much,
Mm,
really,
mm,
because belonging and connection, you know, chosen family. Well, I believe we choose our family and we choose our friends. When people say, you don't choose your family, you choose your friends, I think we choose everybody. Everybody comes in to be in service to our soul, the person
yeah,
that whatever. But just this recreation of conscious family, because we've all have wounding, right, to one degree
right,
or another. And so to
right,
consciously create family and belonging and connection. And here we are with the sun in Cancer, your sun sign. Your birthday is coming up in just 2 or 3 weeks. The cohort
yeah,
happens right after that.
right.
So, so do you feel the kid in the candy store? I mean, or the because having Leo at the top of your chart means that you've been very visible in your life. I mean, whatever you've done career wise, I know you were a programmer originally, but all the stuff that you've done and whatever accolades and whatever that you've shined in your profession, so to speak. I'm not saying that to flatter you. I'm just saying that if somebody's got Leo at the top of their chart, they're pretty much in charge of their playground.
Well, I
So
mean,
your
my
playground is,
job has been to be a teacher in front of the room. So I mean, I think those two are lined up.
yes,
I'm not on the sideline doing all the magical things to put it together, logistics. I'm actually at the top getting, the visibility that you're talking
yes.
about. Sure.
And setting that tone, because having Leo at the top of the chart, your birth time is so specific. So it's like
Mm,
it's like joy, play, creative self-expression, generosity, heart energy. And so you're stepping into this expanded playground, which
mm,
so for because there's so many people now reinventing themselves and letting go of old versions of themselves, which is where you
sure.
are, I am. So
Sure.
in speaking to that for you, like this new family within a family that you're creating and whatever else you're up to.
Right. Right. Right.
Thank you again for my wonderful table.
Yeah. Well, I think, the first thing that occurs to me in your question is, I mean, the irony or the beauty of how the universe sets things up because I mean, that my childhood was, a train wreck, and that's saying it nicely. But not for certain people and certain actions. I would be dead or in jail right now, and instead I have a pretty extraordinary life.
Mhm.
So that's, I think that maybe when you talk about what cancer is and connection and belonging and all this stuff, it seems very interesting that I started like shipwreck from those things and
Mhm.
sort of absent of those things, and that I've had to build them myself. To me, makes them feel way more powerful and meaningful and important, just like everybody else, where whatever place they're healed, whatever wound that they work on, that becomes their superpower. And so maybe it was in my chart, but I certainly was set up
Yeah.
to have those as being my focal point. In terms of this latest chapter, I mean, I'm amazed that how it's as I'm rewriting, reconsidering how I teach what I do, because I used to teach how I do what I did by how I was taught.
Mm.
You know, I would reteach other people the way I was taught, and I didn't really question too much the process because that's the way we always did it. And this time around, I'm having to really look closely, and I don't particularly, it doesn't resonate to do anything the way we used to do it in terms of teaching new teachers.
Mm.
I mean, there's some aspects, but for the most part, it's almost um, it's a learning for me. It's really like I'm literally don't know how to do the thing that I've committed to doing. And I'm spending a lot of time trying to just understand or figure out or like let go of or pick back up or study or I have spent a whole lot of time writing and rewriting and throwing out and re-expanding and re-enabling. So I don't really know yet. But it is a growth opportunity for me. And really for me again, I'm having to codify. You know, I've been teaching connecting and belonging for years. It's been central to my work. But to teach it, what is it? I mean, I'm actually having to get clearer even for myself what it is,
Hmm.
which to articulate something is different from even owning it. To articulate it in a way that you can pass it on is, or even trying to construct the experiences that would pass it on. I'm finding it to be, yeah, like a extraordinary puzzle for me.
Well, and it's so perfect because the crab, has a shell. And then we could say over the last year, the shell has gone away, and now it's the naked crab. And, you're getting an opportunity to build a new home within yourself or a new shell or whatever you want to call it, not to hide, but in terms of what feels safe to me now, what feels protected. And the point is, everybody's in that, whether they know it or not. I mean, you just happen to have the planets basically because the planets don't do anything to us, I believe. They basically reflect what's already going on inside us, what's already
Uh-huh.
informed here, and then as above, so below, that's my belief. It's not like, oh my God, I'm
Sure.
at the mercy of the full moon.
Right, right. Well, I mean, it's a clockwork. I mean, it's 4 o'clock because it's 4 o'clock, not because the time, not because the hand is sitting on a four, you know.
Right,
But we can
right.
look at the clock to see what time it is.
Yeah. I guess for me, I'm really excited to watch you from that perspective when Jupiter goes into Leo, because again, another thing that I experience from you whenever I'm in your presence, whether it's in the course room or otherwise, is that state of joy that I relate to. I mean, is that childlike innocence and wonder. And again, for you, that's going to be expanded in terms
Mm,
of how you're in the world. So it would seem to me that maybe I'm talking to myself, what I see in you that I see in me in a way, because it's almost like the joy of that can override or support or create a something for any fear, any anxiety, any I don't know how to do this because I'm in the same boat you are doing my thing.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't, we're all curious about how it's going to show up,
Yeah.
Lorelei. I don't have any real predictions about it. I plan to do what I've always done, show up, be helpful. I mean, I also, I, I've always prepared massively and then shown up and forgotten everything I did in preparation. And I'm not really sure why that's always been my process. I mean, I can't remember what I do to prepare, but I think I
Is that
have
sort of
to.
a conscious surrender in the moment then? Sort of like you've
Well,
done the prep work and then,
sure. The moment tells me what I have to do next. I
yeah,
mean, being present is so much of it. But I think, I don't mean to underplay the fact that I have a framework that everything falls inside of. So probably the prep is really about creating the container.
yes.
Even though I think I'm laying out the agenda. I don't really, I mean, I spent a lot of time laying out an agenda, but I end up with just really a container.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you have a mission statement, which you shared with me a few months back. Would you share that here?
Sure, sure. Everybody deserves to know that they're loved and connected.
You want to just
Yeah.
say a sentence or two about that? I mean, it's pretty clear,
Well,
I guess, but
sure, sure. So first off, I mean, everybody means everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean there's nobody special here. It means that we all. So everyone deserves. So the word deserves may even sound like a dessert, like, like entitlement. But by making it everyone, it isn't an entitlement anymore. It's just
Mhm.
everybody. Okay, this is a thing. It's a birthright. Okay,
Yes.
that we deserve to know. And when I say no, also for me, no isn't intellectual. No isn't an understanding. No is
Mhm.
something much deeper. So we all deserve to actually carry with us that we are part of something bigger. We all deserve to carry with us a knowing that we are loved. We all deserve to know. I mean, if, and I will say that even when I look at what I'm teaching now and I consider a lot of what I do is lined up with work from Alfred Adler, through Dreikers down through Bill Riedler. Okay, so there's an Adlerian line to it. And then there's also a part that sort of breaks the world up and creates us ability to separate things in reality so that we can see them better because things get collapsed together. And that technology comes out of like Warner Earhart and Heidegger, philosophy and so even in that, what we find is that hmm, I got lost in my process there for a minute.
Well,
The
belonging and
yeah.
loved and everybody deserves to be loved and to belong is, I mean, is that's kind of what we can wrap up the show with because that is, and that is even more operative now with the sun in Cancer is to really have folks really be able to lean into that we all deserve to be loved and to belong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I,
belonging is so important what I was going to say is in Adler's time, social connection was rich and deep. Doesn't mean it was always healthy, but it means that families were bigger, churches were more important. We had lots of social structures. We had lots of social structures. And so in Adler's time, he worked on pointing people back towards social interest as a measure of health. If you pulled away from and your self-interest out of being not good enough or superiority, you drew inside. He pointed us back to social interest.
right,
But today, in our current age, people are becoming more and more independent, and that social web work has has really started to fall apart, and really for a lot of people isn't present. I mean, our associations with people become elective, and back before they weren't elective. You were forced into these places where you actually had to work out your differences with people that you rubbed up against.
yeah,
You had to,
yeah.
and in doing that, bonds were created. Okay,
Well, I
and
think we have material for another show sometime when you're, if you're, because I don't want this to end, but we're at the end of our time together
are
and
we? Oh
we
my
are, I
goodness.
know. And I love you. I thank you for playing with me and for
Yeah.
sharing your heart, your wisdom, your joy, and all these breakthroughs that I have the opportunity to experience with you. Thank you, David.
Thank you for what you do, Lorelei. Just keep
Thanks.
being joyful. You are a beacon.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to Joy Rules with me, Lorelei Robbins, your joy guru. If this episode sparked something in you, don't keep joy to yourself. Share and spread the light. Tune in the second and fourth Friday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on Transformation Talk, where together we reclaim joy as the foundation for transformation. To dive deeper, visit me at joyrules.com. And remember, joy isn't optional, it's essential. And visit joyrules.com for lots more joy. Until next time, keep choosing joy and join the joy revolution. And until we connect, I wish you blue skies, green lights, and lucky stars.